According to the Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism, audiences pay more attention to celebrities and social media personalities than journalists on platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat.
50% get their news from social media. And when we say social media, we're not referring to the news media organizations, but influencers.
Yes.
So, and half of that cannot distinguish between what is true, what is factual, and what is fake news. So yes, the public does not appreciate it.
Interesanting isipin, ano ba yung bagong landscape ngayon? Di ba? So, hindi na siya katulad, halimbawa, noong landscape na napaka makapangyarihan talaga noong mainstream legacy media. No? So, meron ka ng maraming mga outlets to contend with.
I also would like to see a news media industry that's evolved. No? Kasi hindi na lang passive yung audience natin ngayon. Alam natin yan. They have many other sources of news. I really think we have to engage with our public in a more vigorous way.
Leave the audiences alone to discern and decide for themselves which media practitioners and media organizations to trust.
TikTok influencers and celebrities are now the main source of news for young people all over the world. That's one of the findings by the Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism. What does this say about the new breed of news consumers and the so-called traditional media and how they deliver information? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to this episode of The Chiefs. I'm Edwin Gao. With me tonight, Lucy Cruz Valdez, the head of News 5.
Well, hello. It's just the two of us.
Okay.
Good evening to
Good evening.
us.
Yeah.
And happy weekend to
I don't know
us.
if it's so good, such a good evening after you read the report of Reuters Institute on the study of journalism.
Oo nga eh. You know, my main takeaway for now is I have to watch TikTok more. I have to admit.
Not just watch. I think you have to be more to be in TikTok more.
I think I really belong to the old breed, as the report would have us be.
Pero hindi ka ba kasama dun sa celebrities and influencers?
Celebrity talaga. Okay, so as you can see, he is disinformed.
Studying fake news ba?
Misinformed.
Of course, we're talking about the Reuters Institute study on news that came out just a few days ago, and very startling discoveries. Some of them are not as startling as others, pero I mean the numbers are really pretty stark.
Right, but this is not the first.
Not the first, yeah.
Oxford Reuters, right?
No, they do one every year.
Yeah, but this one, I think, let's just say medyo substantive yung mga nakita nating differences from last year.
The numbers are really
and
stark
over,
and to some, I suppose, overwhelming. Although the trends have been there for the last few years, pero ito talagang lagabog.
Oo. Parang may potential dire consequences for traditional media.
Yeah.
At the very least, that's what
On
it
several
seems to
levels as well.
imply. Yes. So it's something that we need to talk about. Yes. Recent reports of the Reuters Institute. That's what we're going to be talking about with our guests tonight. Of course, they're all with the media, involved heavily in the media, and not just recently, but they're like Ed and I.
Recently. Anong gusto mong palabasin?
Like Ed and I
Ba't mo ako dinamay?
have seen the changes from the typewriter era, the U-matic era in broadcast, and now, the digital age.
Ang inabutan ko po yung TikTok na. No, fake news yun. We're bringing our guests right after this breather, so please do stay with us at Cheesy. We'll be right back.
us tonight here in the studio. Center for Media Freedom and Responsibility Trustee Vergel Santos. Nice to see you again in the flesh, Vergel.
yeah.
And
Good to see
over
you.
there beside him is Felipe Salvosa, the second head of the journalism program of the University of Santo Tomas. Welcome to our studios.
First time,
welcome.
busy pandemic, yes.
Oo.
Full disclosure rin ako
Okay.
I'm with CMFR.
Ay, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. That's good to know.
Full
I'm with
disclosure
neither. Full disclosure, I'm part of the
Oh, yeah. TV5
the
is here.
list of
So, yun. Para malinaw.
platforms that were
Hindi masabing
surveyed. Anyway, we're talking here about the Reuters Oxford report on media, which they come out with every year. But and every year we do react. But some people who've read the report have said that many of the points raised in this recent one are quite alarming, especially for traditional media. Your thoughts on that, please. Vergel, ikaw muna.
I don't know whether we need that sort of report to understand that the landscape is not favorable to traditional media.
So you're not surprised.
No, I'm not. What I'm surprised about is I'm always surprised at how surveys are done. You know, for instance, when you tend to equate a product like news and journalism with just any other product in the market, and you call them brands and such things.
So you're talking
begin
about
to-
what?
I begin to
TikTok
yes,
versus
that's
parang
right.
ganon.
Or the trust in the
because
brands.
you necessarily will have if you talk about trust, you will have to also talk about the quality of such trust. Who trusts and who don't. You know? So unlike in the market, all you need to do is you don't have to ask too many questions. All you need to ask is whether one likes a foot powder of some kind and another.
Yes.
I mean, it is to me a complex thing, really. Although,
Well, that's true naman.
Yeah.
Pero but in the end,
But
how
I'm
do you
consider-
measure it?
yeah.
Kasi di ba, in the end,
Yes.
you still do want to measure
Yes,
public
exactly.
perception and
yes,
public...
but public perception, I can understand. It doesn't surprise me. I mean, the moment that that we had this thing that opened itself to everyone as a dumping ground of anything, I mean, you realize that the traditional media have always played things rather strictly and professionally
Yes.
under certain professional arrangements, you know.
Yes. Yes,
I
that's
can
true.
understand that.
But then again, of course, they're talking about habits, I guess, no? And predilections.
Yeah.
And since these platforms have laid themselves also to news bearers, whether they're credible or otherwise, no? The fact is they're there and they're now competing for attention. What about your thoughts first?
I think we cannot avoid discussing yung that's very strong criticism coming from Maria Ressa and Rappler. So I think their issue has to do with the methodology. No? So I think she has a point. No?
I write for Rappler every fortnight, by the way.
Disclosure.
Disclosure, di ba? Disclosure.
Dami mga disclosure dito.
Buti na malinaw, di ba?
I think she has a point. See, I think Maria has a point na yung trust ratings have somewhat been weaponized against the media in this context of disinformation. I think she has a point there. But I think there's also some use dito sa brand trust scores. I'm just not comfortable with the use of the term brand.
Yeah.
Kasi alam mo
Yeah,
naman
I
sa
can imagine,
newsroom
yeah.
ay
Yes, so-
ayaw natin ng mga
Hindi naman tayo
marketing dyan eh. Oo,
dito.
so,
We're not about
parang, so yung brand marketing concept kasi yun eh. So I'm not sure if
Yeah.
how they have
But
overlapped
anyway,
with
yung kasi
journalism.
the brand trust thing, let the news agencies fight among themselves. I mean, that's another thing altogether. Ako, I would be more concerned with, for example, how we stack up as far as the public is concerned versus, for example, celebrities, influencers,
Actually-
di ba? Yung mga ganun eh.
Actually,
that to me is
yung,
more frightening eh.
yung Reuters Institute and Oxford survey, for the past few editions have detected certain level of news avoidance. For me, yun yung
Mas alarming.
mas alarming. Especially young people. And why do they avoid the news? Sabi nila, it's stressful. No, it changes my mood.
That's true.
No, so and I think-
Napaka-nega raw.
hindi lang yung
Napaka-nega raw
I think hindi lang totoo yan sa mga kabataan, even sa older demographic.
Yeah.
Ayaw din nila ng news. Nag-tune out sila. So, ngayong nasa social media yung news content, ang kalaban natin, yung mga feel-good,
Right.
yung mga cats,
Totoo
no?
yan. Yeah.
Yung
At
mga
saka hindi naman
pagkains.
nadi-distinguish kung ano ang news at hindi eh. Hindi naman nila alam ano ba talaga yung news.
Right.
Yun,
Kaya nga
tama.
nami-mislead din
Oo,
sila easily, no?
Exactly.
By fake
Yun yung
news.
sabi nga ni Ed, that's perfectly on point. Sinasabi na yung influencers, alam mo yung influencers ng araw, under the old, strictly professional arrangement, influencers are only allowed their utterances once sought out by the media. Hindi po pwede basta ka nalang lilitaw dyan, no? And shoot your mouth off. Hindi. Ang nagde-decide yung media. Kasi yung professional media, ang laying down the rules of the game. Kasi sila yung pro eh.
Hindi na nga eh.
Hindi na nga.
Hindi na nga
I can
tayo
understand
yun.
na hindi
Oo.
because of the technology more than anything else.
Right.
But I think audiences should be made to understand that because it has become a free-wheeling game, maluloko ka talaga. Di ba? Ibig sabihin, hindi mo na iniisip. You are not told, you are not made to understand that news is something that before it is at all publicly revealed, goes through layer upon layer
Of vetting.
of checks, of vetting for not only for language, but for legalities and for proprieties, other things. Hindi nila alam.
But do
yun.
they even care really, Rahel? I mean,
Kasi hindi
Yun nga
nila
eh.
alam.
kasi
eh.
perception is now what matters to them,
At saka
no?
hindi alam.
We can talk about it all day, pero yung nga medyo nakakabahala din, yung 14% na lang ang kumukuha ng balita sa print. So what does that tell us? From 22% 4 years ago.
What does that tell us?
14%.
People don't want to read anymore. That's
yeah,
what it
oo.
tells me. Reading now is a virtually non-existent hobby among, to me,
Pero, Lucy,
especially
reading
the
from
news.
something.
Lucy, Ed, pati kayo din kasi yung even TV view,
Yes, I
TV
know.
news is declining.
Right,
So
yeah.
sa bahay namin, ako na lang nanonood ng Signal TV.
No, that's true.
Parang wala.
Yeah.
So ko tatanong,
Appointment viewing na, wala na
why are
yan.
you still subscribing to cable? Parang-
Isipin mo ako nga, nahihirapan panoorin lahat ng news, lahat ng channels. I tried to do that, no?
Oo. Yeah.
Pero apart from that, I realized na apart from all these regular mainstream channels that I watch, merong innumerable platforms
Yes.
on which
Yeah.
Teka, let me put some baseline here kasi some people may not know what we're talking about. We're spotting numbers and we haven't really laid out
Right.
the findings ng Reuters. For example, among other things, those who directly access news websites and applications, yung diretso sa news websites, from 32% in 2018 down to 22% in 2023, 10 percentage point drop. While those who access news through social media sites, in other words, dumadaan sa Facebook, Twitter, and all that, from 23% in 2018 went up to 30% in 2023. So people are not going to websites anymore ng news organizations. They're going
Social
to social
media.
media. The other thing that we were talking about a while ago, for example, the people who use TikTok for news, 55% of them pay more attention to social media personalities and celebrities and influencers for news versus those who rely on news media on TikTok, which is at 33% lang. So mas pinapakinggan sa TikTok for news mga influencers at celebrities versus us. Where does that put us?
Mas visual na kasi yung audience. Mas gusto nila yung visual. Ayaw nila magbasa. But I think
Pero kami visual
Oh,
kami.
TV is in a good
Oo,
position
kaya
to
nga
capture
eh,
that.
diba?
Oo.
Yes.
So
So,
kaya nasa TikTok na rin yung mga news organizations,
Yes,
right?
yes,
TikTok
we are
as a
there.
news division.
yeah.
Sa akin, it's a marriage of two natures, you know. Yung platforms na yan, TikTok and the rest. Ano yan eh? Convenient and exciting, you know. Exciting from the viewpoint of the nature of certain audiences, of most audiences, a nature that is visceral.
Yes.
So talaga pupunta ka dyan.
Talaga.
Ano, ha? Kasi it will require, for instance, given the complexities of the world today, a lot of things will have to be explained. And it takes some doing explaining things. And the social media platforms not only don't explain it, but are not able to explain it because they have not been trained to explain it. Basta lumitaw na lang sila, they happened on the scene eh. No? So ang gumagawa niyan, we have always tried to do that as news people kasi kailangan natin gawin eh. Ano? Pero gawin man natin, dahil nga nasasapawan tayo the cacophony from those modern platforms, wala tayong marating. So ang nangyayari, dumadami hindi nakakaintindi kung anong ginagawa natin. Ano?
Well, pero I'm not sure that I'm not so sure that it's really a question of content. We do that. We explain. I mean, Ed here
Yes,
is
we do.
our official explainer,
And they put
he's
me on
on
TikTok.
Yeah,
No,
and
not
he's
TikTok.
one of the most widely viewed.
Yes,
He's
that's
one of
true.
the most widely viewed. So that gives us much consolation, no? Na parang they do. Meron naman eh. There's a hunger for these types
Na
of
ibig sabihin-
information. But I think we're competing not just with news. That's the thing that hurts me, no? We're really competing with stuff that's not strictly news.
With cats
And
and
sometimes they make it appear like it's news. And people now begin to think that what they're listening to is actually news.
Kasi nga, hindi naintindihan.
Yun na nga eh. So parang ang challenge sa akin dito is
Hindi
paano
ang-
mo papakita na hindi
well, what is
totoo
happening-
yan, hindi yan.
What seems to be happening to note is that pag nagpunta ka rin sa platform na yun, at alam mong ginagawa mo, meron namang nakikinig sa'yo. Paano
Oo naman.
But ang problema lang talaga is in general, kukunti lang nakaintindi kung ano itong ginagawa natin.
Well, yeah.
Pagka tinanong mo, hindi lang naiisip. They don't give what to me is the deserved attention that mainstream media, the attention that mainstream media deserve. Like for instance, yung ginagawa, our own idea of fairness, our own idea of intelligent discussion, our ethical, our ethical restrictions, and things like that. Hindi na naiintindihan.
But do they even care?
That's it. That's another question. Do they care at this point, given that they have become so taken with this
Is it
platform?
also the medium, no? Kasi between reading and watching, I mean, dun pa lang, di ba, talo ka na eh. I mean, I'm just saying, our job, in a way, is much easier in the sense of getting people's attention because we're visual. What stuff is when you're explaining something, you can only do so much explaining in 3 minutes. Only so much, Barhel. There's nothing like actually reading a paper or reading a website and really di ba, concentrating on what you're reading and picking up points along the way.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that exercise. It's a mental exercise.
Only news organizations can do that.
That's
Hindi kayang
true.
gawin niya ng mga, mahirapan yung mga content creators.
But we can also
to do
only
that.
do that visually. You know, first of all, it costs so much to do a documentary complete with visual support. It costs so much. Diba?
This is where the truism loses its truth. That a picture is worth
paints
1,000 words.
1,000 words. Yes, that's true. I think that's only good for art, not for news. Yeah.
But is there a
Sasabihin
middle
ba?
ground? Kasi in the end, we're held hostage by the new technology and the new behavior. Is there a middle ground where, we have to go after the audience in the end. We can't just say na, kasi hindi nyo kami na-appreciate, hindi nyo kami pinapanood.
Ako may nakikita akong
Are we leading to extinction here? I mean, I guess.
No, ako may
Facing extinction.
may nakikita akong parallel dyan, political parallel. Halimbawa, itong political situation ba, maayos mo, the whole thing, ng buong nasyon,
Oo.
na involving 100 million plus people? Hindi Ako, pag tinatanong kung ano ang tingin ko sabi ko, wala akong alam Hindi ko alam kung anong gagawin ko dyan Ang alam ko lang na pwede kong gawin, and I probably would suggest, is to create my own constituency. Maghanap ako ng 10 million, critical mass na yan, dito na lang muna ako. And then, I serve this, and I try to raise the level of quality of everything about this constituency. At saka na lang ako lalaki kung kaya ko pa magpalaki. Pero ito na lang muna sa akin. To me, that is a kind of breakaway that I think is allowed in the Constitution.
Like a niche, like your own niche. Pero,
Yeah,
But you know, even that requires funding, di ba? I mean, kunyari, if you translate it to media, di ba? And to politics, kailangan mo ng pondo dyan. Lalo na
May
sa media.
crisis tayo sa business models. No?
Yun pa.
Nakahanap tayo ng business model that works.
Oo, ngayon pa lang ka nag-umpisa.
na meron siyang idea. So, maybe
Let's
that
see.
works.
Oo.
If it gathers 10 million
Let's
mass
see.
base, why not? Pero ngayon,
Parang sa politika ba? Yung 10 milyon,
bailiwick kang ganun.
like-minded, like-hearted dito Sama-sama lang tayo. Yung hindi, nasa kabila, diyan kayo sa inyo. Bahala kayo, huwag kayong hanap ng tulong sa akin dahil di kailangan.
ngayon, sino yung mga digital platforms, news platforms na nakakapag-charge ng subscriptions? Only the big ones. New York Times,
Kaya nga
Washington
That
Post,
means,
FT.
hahanapin ko rin yung
Mahirap.
constituency na yon. I will look at it also as a market that can support itself. There's such a constituency, I think. Ano ba?
But that's so
Market.
difficult. I mean, I think we all agree on the principles na these are things we have to do and all that. But of course, the devil is in the details.
Yeah.
How do we do that? we've meandered along for so many years trying to
We
figure
have to
out this
convince a lot
digital
of
thing.
people. We have to convince educators to...
I think,
Diba?
you
Sorry
said the
yung
magic
yun
word.
yung familiar refrain So, convince educators to, turuan ulit natin yung mga kabataan paano magharap ng balita. What's the difference between news and non-news, raw information and opinion. Kasi ngayon, pagpunta mo sa Facebook, saan ako magharap ng balita dito?
Ako naghanap ako ang measure ko, yung bumoto ng tama. Yun ang unang measure ko Kasi wala naman
How
akong
do you
measure
even
na alam
know what's botong tama?
At titinan ko kailan bumoto kong dito sa kandidatong ito, saan ang galing. Ano ba? So, yun ang measure ko. I'm not saying that it's a fail-safe measure, no? It's a surefire measure. But wala naman akong magagawang measure. I'm just trying things Di ba? So, let's see. Tinan ko.
So, parang sinasabi mo yung old model na appeal to all, a wider mass base, ideological persuasions, wala na yun.
Wala na yun.
Wala na yun.
Wala na yun.
So, gagawa ka ng...
Gawa ako ng measure bago.
Hindi, tsaka in effect, for TV at least, parang may niche. It's very niche.
Yeah, niche in a way,
you know,
no?
we've tried
It's
that.
it's niching, but it's niching, but in another sense. You are actually in niching. You are simply looking at a market. Niching is strictly
Marketing.
defined by market values and virtues. Ito hindi. May political, may cultural, may and let's see, pare-pareho pa tayo ng iniisip no Sabi nila, that's preaching to
Baka
the
naman
choir.
mga journalists lahat yan.
Pero sir, kasi there's also the problem where you might have an echo chamber. I mean, in the end, you do want to reach as many
good
people as you want,
point.
even those who don't want to read you. Diba?
I don't mind keeping an echo chamber of 10 million people.
But
I don't mind.
but how do you
keeping
get
an
that-
echo chamber of 10 million people and raising their qualities further. Kasi kahit na echo chamber ka, may kailangan pa rin matutunan yan Hindi naman lahat alam na yan At saka meron pa rin itatanong sa iyo yung mga yan. Pero sa kanila na lang muna ako mag-uumpisa.
Okay, but
Maliwanag na hindi ko makukuha yung
So that's just
That's
a
a
starting point.
That's just a starting point.
And
Oo.
you're thinking that eventually this
I'm hoping.
group can bring in many others.
I'm
until it
hoping that pag
grows.
nakita, the test, it is success of the experiment It's always the success of the experiment. if they see, maganda itong constituency na to, studying ako rito.
Yun yung bagay na yan. Pwede mo rin gawin yan sa, if you set up your own YouTube channel,
Exactly.
build an
Oh, yeah.
audience, and give them what they want, and, try to educate them. Possible din yan sa social media channels.
But kailangan may parallel, you cannot just go into it. Dapat ini-explain mo yung ginagawa mo. Kaya kailangan maintindihan eh. Mahirap kasi yung ginagawa ng iba na pasok ka lang dyan, hindi mo pinapaintindi eh. We will have to make this constituency understand why we have chosen them and where we want to lead them towards. That's my point.
Parang it's beginning to look more like a cult to me right now. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure I want to go that way, but it's something that
cult
we
is
need to talk
a cult
about
is a
further.
person. This is about an idea.
Yeah.
A cult is a
Okay.
person. It's
Yeah,
an idea.
well,
Oh.
we will certainly continue this discussion because there's so much more to talk about, and we'll come back after this break. Keep it here on The Chiefs.
We're still talking about the recent report of the Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism, and of course, still with us, Vergel Santos of CMFR and Ipe Salbosa of UST, and formerly of Manila Times and Press One.
Yeah,
And now
Business
Press One.
World.
Yeah. And anyway, Karina, we mentioned a while ago, very, very briefly, the need to look for a workable business model moving forward for all of us. Kasi ang hirap nga naman kumita ngayon as responsible media organizations with the way things are going. Pero, yun yung sabi ng report we have to find a way for it to work financially as well so that we're not held hostage by
One,
all interests.
I hope we can, there's a forum to continue to convince media owners na despite the news being a cost center, it's worth investing on kahit walang malaking bottom line because they have to give back to society. It's part of their portfolio of media assets. So meron kang entertainment, meron kang film, meron kang news. You have to support the news.
Yeah,
and
but
you have to try to make it independent.
Pero Prof, that's good, and I think we all agree on that. But in the end, siyempre, they still will they'll still look at the bottom line. What I'm looking
And
for is
social media will not go away.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, as a
And the
matter of
challenge is
fact,
still there.
even as we speak, even entertainment programs are threatened by social
That's
media,
Mm-hmm.
entertainment stuff, di ba? So, in
That
other
means
words,
kasama na
the
sila.
pressure's there.
Yeah,
Kasama na
yeah.
sila sa sa platforms mo that you have to take advantage.
At saka we're not looking for a business model. We're supposed to invent one. It's not as if there is something
yes.
something out there that we can grab.
ako, dyan pa naman mahina mga giorno.
Oo nga.
Hindi kayo marunong kumita ng pera.
Hindi, tsaka yung mga journalists talaga will have to reorient themselves kasi we are creature of habits in a way.
They are, yes.
We're creatures of habits.
And the ethical restrictions also keep us from...
You'd like to think na parang that's not my
Kasi pag, when I watch news vlogs now, and they have, the anchor is asked to read out a sponsor thing. I feel, parang kaya ko ba gawin to? Na nagbabalita ako nito, tapos all of a sudden, I say,
This
kailangan
portion is
nyo ba
brought to
ng
you by-
ganito? Merong ganitong ganyan.
Yun nga
At pwede
yung
kayo makakuha ng discount pagka nag-subscribe kayo sa akin. Di ba very awkward for the traditional journalist? So, ang question ko nga
But
dito
how of
is,
them do that?
I know, because
Ako na
again,
gagawin
that's
niya,
the business model. But how do we really feel about that? Is that something that we should get into if we
Maybe
are
not
to
that,
survive?
but about
not that.
what do you feel about grants, for instance? Kasi controversial din yan, no? So that the tech giants give grants. Maybe it's their konsensya nila yun, their way of
Yeah.
giving back to support the news, no? So maybe
Baka
we
may
could
payback
consider
din
that.
yun. I want to use your phrase when we interviewed you before, yung
Yeah.
reasonable compromise.
Yes, a reasonable compromise. Talaga namang meron lagi.
Meron
Yung
lagi,
reasonable compromise naman is something that has always been part of anything. for that matter,
That's
of the
true.
media business.
Yeah.
Alam naman natin yon.
But do the viewers or do the consumers of your content know that? Because kung minsan, di ba,
We will
magaganyan ka
have- we'll have to
sabihin,
tell
oy,
them."
nagbebenta ka rin pala.
We'll
Oy,
Yun nga,
may bias ka rin
ang
pala.
problema rin, yung mga tinatawag nila mga malign actors, they thrive on not observing our ethical standards. They use it and then they use it
That's
against
true.
us.
Yeah, exactly. Kinakalaban din tayo.
And
use it
without
against us.
using our ethical standards.
Yeah. So ako naman, I want to
Ganun.
go back to what you mentioned. You mentioned the magic word to me, which is education. Do you think that, kasi ngayon when you go to the schools and lahat ng activities nila, o halos nagre-revolve around TikTok, no? Parang if there's a project, you have to do TikTok. If there's a PE project, you have to do it on TikTok. Even the teachers use TikTok, you know? So I'm just asking whether education has a lot to do with it, because maybe the reason why children don't read is really because they're now being passed over to TikTok, especially with the pandemic,
true.
and all of them were, confined to online learning.
Convenience. Convenience,
Yeah,
easy
diba?
familiarization. Pagka meron ka talagang tool na easy to familiarize yourself with,
Exactly.
na
Yung mga
convenient,
project kasi
panalo
na,
na yun
upload a video and to get the
Oo.
most likes,
Yes.
you get a high grade. Pero kasi sa akin, higher education na medyo late na sa stage ko.
Oo.
So sana sa basic education, doon sila mag-start. Like,
Eh,
you
ngayon
know,
may chat GPT pa,
Oh,
di ba?
yung-
I mean,
di ba? Parang wala nang project ngayon na you
At saka yung-
clip an article,
Oo.
di ba?
Wala
Na
na.
pero yung levels of explaining,
An article.
even explaining and teaching, will have to be done by levels Kasi nga meron kang bata, meron kang matanda, kung conforme sa level ng education, it requires a certain level of education to understand, not only understand something, but understand something of something, meaning you can only understand something up to a point, not the whole
Right.
point. So how do you determine that?
I don't want to just lay the burden on, for example, the educational system.
No,
Although
no.
That's part of it. Pero kasi I also want to look at things internally. I mean, even within us, in this industry, problema na rin tayo dun. I think, you do a quick survey in newsrooms. How many reporters here read
the
newspaper
newspapers.
websites?
Right, that's true.
Or a book.
Or a book? How many of you reporters rely on your social media feeds for news?
Yes.
I'm sure you'll get a reply that you don't
Tsaka
want to hear.
dumadami yan habang lumalaon.
Yeah.
Oo, talaga.
Yeah.
Kasi
so
nag-dominate
doon pa lang
na
sa
ng-
atin, I mean, even in the newsroom, it's a problem.
It is a problem. Ay, malaking problema talaga.
And so if that's a problem in the newsroom, how can you expect people outside to do any better?
It's true.
It's, the temptation is growing of asking someone to stop the world because I want to get off. I mean, it's really,
Yes, that's true.
mahirap talaga.
Oo.
Kaya lang, forced to good tayo. Ano gagawin natin?
Going back dun sa education, maganda naman yung ginawa ng DepEd. They put an MIL curriculum in senior high school, but I think that's
MIL, ano
Media
yun?
and Information Literacy
Okay. Yeah.
sa grade 11 and 12. Kaso late na yon. So sana they
Oo.
could integrate it in the
Senior
primary
high, maybe.
levels.
Right.
Sa lahat ng courses, like lahat ng subjects, no? So sana merong, activities like, reading a news article.
Pero saan ka makakakuha ng suitable teacher to tell you
That's
that?
part
Isa
of
pa
it.
yan.
That's part of it. Dapat kasama yon sa, sa teacher
Dapat
training.
kasama yan.
Dapat kasama
Kaya ako pinapaliit yung market at saka constituency. It's precisely because I cannot expect na ma-reach ko yung lahat na yan Kaya ang tendency ko, as they say, I operate from my corner, and I write for people whom I think I can
Yes, but
reach.
there has to be a utility even to that little group for the bigger community. In other words, when will they pay attention to you? When will they realize
tingnan mo,
that you
Lucia.
have a value that you can actually
Just
add to?
let's consider this. How much of the truth are you can you be believed dispensing? For instance, pag sinabi sa certain constituency who have been wallowing in poverty for about 3 generations, pag sinabi mo, which is talaga itong totoo, hindi ka naman pwede naming i-lift from your situation today in a generation or 2. Probably in 2 generations. paniniwalaan ka. Hindi pwede yan. Sabihin sa'yo, kung sino mag-promise sa amin na when we wake up in the morning, we'll be all right, doon kami. You see, the predisposition to believe falsehood, because it makes them feel good. it's another matter, So, ang gagawin mo ngayon, yung pag nagbalita ka, ng masamang balita para sa kanila, ayoko niyan. Isa pa yun eh.
Yeah.
Kaya talaga napakahirap.
Tapos
Which
the politicians have can
Kaya
bypass us
marunong sila
basically kasi may kanya-kanya silang channels, meron silang mga operators.
Duterte, Marcos, parehong quick fix ang ano nila eh.
So
Ang promesa nila eh.
So ano nung ginagawa nung constituency mo, if you were to set it up?
You're
balancing them off.
two constituencies. They're of different levels of incomes as well and education. Lagi naman gano'n, hindi naman po pwedeng isa lang eh. But doon sa higher levels are prepared to share what they can to achieve a self-help community. Nakita ko yun eh. Minsan ako nagulat ako, nakita ko na yung mahihirap, tinutulungan ng mga meron. Nakikita ko ang tingin ko to a certain extent and in a certain situation and among certain people, it works. Now, I just need to see that kind of constituency.
I want to see that.
Yes, exactly. But I've seen that in the streets.
sa US may mga ganyan na. So whether right or left, meron silang mga
Meron
kanya-kanya
sila.
and big audiences din.
Yes, meron ding big audiences.
I'd like to go back to news avoidance kasi it's behavior. It's a startling shift as well. I mean, we've seen the trend going up, but we didn't expect it to go like this. In 2017, those extremely interested in news were at 64%. Now it's only at 48%. News avoidance is at 36%. People avoiding news.
Actively avoiding
So
news.
what should we be giving them? I mean, should we go with that, or should we push back is the wrong word? What do you do with that? This is a snapshot of
Yun
what
ang hirap
people
eh,
want
no?
or don't want to hear or read.
Hindi natin
They're
malala kung
getting the
bakit.
news
Influenced.
content from, social media, mga Facebook Reels, etc. Sa TikTok, sa YouTube, may mga shorts din doon. So doon na nila nakukuha yun. Pero I think even as sa content natin, I don't want to use again content kasi marketing yun. News, sa news natin, diversity, I think we already have that. Diversify natin yung news.
Yeah, we have that.
No? So, i-push natin yung
Pero yung old definition ng news,
Yeah.
kailangan maipaintindi natin sa madlan na yun ang tamang definition eh. Kasi ang definition ng news is whatever it is that what would possibly affect your life.
Their lives. Yes,
So
yes.
ang titingnan mo talaga yung ating politika, di ba? Yun naman talaga eh. Yung ating kultura, economics, yung wholesome entertainment, yun naman talaga eh, no? So the definition holds. Ang kailangan lang, ipakita mo sa kanila kung why this will affect your life, and if you kept abreast of the news, you'd be all better off.
But I think we all agree on that. I mean,
Yeah.
tayo mga reporter naman tayo, but we all agree on that.
Kung paano mo
Pero
lang
how do you
ipaintindi lang
make
sa
people-
kanila.
Kasi what they found in the study was people are avoiding points of stress.
Nega.
They-
That's how they view the news.
Like, for example, Ukraine,
News
ayaw
is
nila.
negative. News is always adversarial. News is always seeing the bad side of events. Never, ever, ever going to, looking at the bright side. Ika nga. Never. We don't do that. And
We have to. That's also what we need to tell the new recruits sa journalism na yung journalism hindi lang basta umattend ka ng press conference and then you turn in your story. Hindi yun ang journalism.
Tsaka affecting the lives of people in both positive and negative ways. Hindi mo pwedeng
no, that's
negative
true. But
lang
in
eh.
general kasi, di ba, first of all, when we talk about political news, halimbawa, in general, the tone is really adversarial. Meaning, may ginawang questionable. Hindi natin sabihin na mali, hindi natin sabihin na corrupt, hindi natin sabihin na bawal, kundi parang questionable. And that in itself makes it very negative, no?
Kung meron
And
lang
even
ginawang
kunyari,
kung meron lang ginawang tama, lalabas natin eh. Kasi news yun eh.
News value yun.
News nga eh.
Yeah, that's true.
Mas malaki ang value nun ngayon eh. Given the run of things,
Yeah.
mas malaki ang value nung ginawang tama. Ang problema, walang ginawang tama.
Pero sir, kasi in the end kasi our role is also check and balance eh.
Yeah.
And in doing that, 'di ba? You're not really looking for good news per se because you want to get good news.
Because there's no dearth of positive press
Hindi,
statements.
hindi,
Give
tsaka
me a
ano
break.
paano
Araw-araw
mo-
ang dami niyan, par.
Paano mo i-explain
Performance.
na ang press e freedom at ang gobyerno e power and hindi pwedeng magsama? Kailangan talaga yung freedom check yan sa power. Kaya ganyan ang balita.
Correct.
Kung hindi natin i-check yung power, magkakalintik-lintik kayo. Dapat i-explain yan.
We
Ganito
have
ang
to find
mangyayari
a
sa
way.
inyo.
We have to find a way for society to appreciate the value of news to them.
Pero yun nga,
all of us.
doon babalik
Ang
eh.
mahirap yan.
Exactly. Diba? Parang how do you tell
At saka
them that
idol-
this is not just us spewing bad news to you just because
At saka if you look at the Constitution itself, the Constitution very clearly has intended freedom, especially press freedom, first ranked yan, first freedom,
Yeah.
in the same way, as I always say, as a trumpet, you cannot be timid with it. You
blow with all your might.
Yes. Ganun ang
Oo.
klase ng freedom kasi ikaw, wala kang kalaban-laban sa poder. Ang poder, may army, may police, may BIR. Ikaw, you only have words. Pero sila meron din nun. Dapat ipakita sa mga ito ang laban dyan eh.
They have a
no?
bigger budget kasi. Really. It's the biggest information network.
That's why I think yun nga ang mahirap. You're up against platforms that are first of all, if you come out with anything really bad on social media, the regulators will even go after you. I mean, Facebook,
Yes, oh.
Google, di ba? So doon pa lang nare-restrict na. So anong nangyayari? Yung mga non-journalists, all they come up with are really pleasant news, funny news, joke news, any kind of news, and even sarcasm news toward traditional media, di ba? Pag pinagtatawanan tayo. How do you fight against that? You're really kicking against the codes here. Di ba? That's really the trend. And
God.
what do you do?
Ang hirap.
Di ba ang hirap?
Ang hirap talaga.
Ang hirap.
Ang hirap talaga eh.
Except
To
that
tell the tech giants to, di ba, sana naman meron kayong konting di ba? I don't want to blame them totally for it, pero you have to help us out here. Hindi naman pwedeng lang.
Here's to me the bigger problem, ha? Hindi pa nga yung mga social media influencers ang kalaban. Ang mas kalaban natin, yung mga nagpapanggap na news sa social media. Yung mga patently biased and partisan, and yet nagpapanggap na sila.
That's
yeah,
where the tech
traditional
giants
news
have to
sila,
invest
di ba?
more on
Yun
on
ang-
fact-checking, yung moderation. So, hindi pwedeng walang moderation, hindi pwedeng walang fact-checking.
And guess what? They're the ones with the bigger following.
Yeah,
Gas-
hindi
gastos
tayo
din yan.
hindi kayo ang mag-invest noon, sila tech giants, no. So they're already investing some money there, pero I think they have to put a little bit more.
You know, one thing I also noticed, people seem to have lost, lost the idea that there's a difference between news and opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they brand opinion as news as well.
Yes.
Especially
Oh,
on social media. So,
Oo.
this is news, pero it's basically
Kasi naman we call,
Isa pa
I
yun.
mean, we call the commentators, news commentators, no?
Yes,
So, lalong nalilito rin yung listener or even sa dyaryo, di ba, news columnist. So, nalilito sila na,
Pero sa Jaro kasi
Columnist,
hiwalay yung
pero
pahina
news,
ng,
oo.
ng
May
opinion.
sections.
I mean,
but
it's a physical
even on
distinction.
radio, for example,
Yeah,
ang
there you
daming program na commentaries naman, di ba? And yet, ang tawag sa kanila, news commentator. Kaya parang, news pero comment, nakakalito rin eh, di ba? So, I think that's where we ought to start.
At saka yung
As a
sila,
practitioners,
sige lang na
no,
sige.
na parang-
Kung ano lang naisip
Oh,
nila,
yeah.
hindi na,
Yeah.
kailangan ipaintindi rin sa mga tao na, alam nyo, you cannot escape opinion, may magbibigay talaga yan.
Yeah.
Pero yung opinion kasi, should be stood on a body of facts. Ano?
Oo.
Hindi po pwedeng naisip mo lang ito, ang tingin ko, ito,
Oo.
ganito ko. Hindi. You argue it like a case. So, dapat gano'n. Kailangan talaga explain eh. Ang kulang talaga, hindi naintindihan. Kulang ang pagkakaintindi. Dalawang kulang eh, yung pagkakaintindi tsaka yung pangintindi. Hindi na kayang intindihin yung in certain cases eh.
Kasi
Hindi
nga,
kaya,
education mahina eh.
Oo.
Ako parang really it's I mean, there was one exam, I can't remember anymore what this was, but it was part of a study. Kids can't even distinguish
Yeah.
between a sentence that's fact and a sentence that's an opinion.
Yeah.
No, and to me that's really bothersome because they will confuse their facts from their opinions when they listen to the news commentaries. No, never mind the news because news that's supposed to be
At
factual.
saka yun lang, when does a body of facts becomes truth? Kasi yun the difference between fact and truth.
Right.
Talagang hindi naman madali, no? Medyo
Facts are
philosophical
not
pa nga yan
necessarily
Oo,
truth, right?
So, paano paano
very
gagawin mo?
subtle.
Because you can always marshal materials to your convenience, di ba? So,
No, I think-
ituturo mo pati yun.
I think this is where Maria Ressa might be coming from when she says
I think
studies
so.
like this could be weaponized. No?
Yeah.
Because precisely nga, ang dali nga sabihin na wala.
Hindi, tsaka simplistic talaga
laos
yung-
na kayo, no? Laos
Yung mga ganong klaseng
They
studies.
just screenshot
simplistic
that
yan.
chart and then, nasa ilalim kayo. Parang yun na.
Pagka ginasa kayo, pagka simplistic yung study, talo ka.
No, but then again, that might be true. I mean, okay, yeah, you might say, di ba, talo kayo, but the survey conducted really also reveals results
Basta
that could be...
sabihin lang nila kung paano kayo natalo, in what competition did you lose? Ano? Dapat linawin niyo kasi hindi nga nila sinasabi.
Pero sir,
naman.
ako naman kasi, the study might be weaponized in the same way that the law might be
Dali.
weaponized. That does not make the law invalid. It's
Yes,
just,
exactly.
It's just how it is used or misused by other people. In the same way that I think the study in itself stands because it's a study on the way people look at us these days. And
It's a survey.
it's up to us how we work around it and how we work with it.
And it should not be stopped. Ako, ultimately, parang I don't, because Maria Ressa seems to be calling for a stop to these kinds of surveys, or purportedly because it could be
Siguro more-
weaponized.
Kaya
But
ako,
naman,
would like
parang
to
Dapat
feeling ko,
i-criticize yung
there's
survey.
nothing like,
What,
a discussion, di ba? I mean, discussion
Ako would
is
like to
really
focus
what
on
is
other
needed,
aspects of the
not,
study kasi may
censorship.
ibang aspects doon na mas alarming.
Yes, that's true. That's
Yung
also
news
true.
avoidance, for
In
instance.
news avoidance, diba?
Oo.
So what do we do now if people
You have
don't want to
a
listen
third
to
of people
to
actively
bad
avoiding
news?
the news. Paano yun?
At saka hindi. Paano mo sasabihin ayaw na ng news when life is necessarily stressful these days?
That's the other thing, diba?
No, but that's why they escape. I
Oh,
think
escape.
that's,
Oo.
lagi naman.
So hindi talaga news ang hinahanap nila. Hindi ba?
Cats dancing and
Oo, yan ang hinahanap nila.
Oo, well.
Pagka sinabi mong gano'n, wala akong sasabihin doon. I will not be able to say anything. Di ba? So, ayaw nyo ng news, dahil stressful ang news, notwithstanding that life is stressful, ayaw nyo ng truth. Ayaw nyo ng truth because truth is stressful. Yun ang ayaw ninyo. So, gusto ninyo, yung frou-frou. Di ba?
Yeah. Yeah. Until they get into some really troubling situations, then they want truth, right? But
Okay, we talked about a lot of problems. Maybe next time we can find solutions.
we're
These
so
are things-
stressful. See? We can't even find any solution to our problems.
But these are things we have to talk about. These are problems that we have to bring out
There's nothing like
for
discussion.
further deliberation and
Yeah.
discussion. And so there.
Yeah.
So I'd like to say thank you to Verel Santos of CMFR and Ipe Salbosa of
Salamat,
UST
salamat.
and,
Thank you.
Thank
and
you
Press
too.
One. And yeah, good. There you go. Maraming salamat. That's all we have for the Chiefs. I'm Ed Lingao.
And we hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.